All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call. We have everybody here, it looks like. Additions to the agenda? Any additions?
There are none.
Cool. Good, that's good. Approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion we approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
I got a motion from Bruce and a second from Cheryl. Any other further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and carried. Number 5, public comment. I don't believe there's anybody here for public comment.
Not that I'm aware of.
Nope. Okay. All right. Consent agenda. We have, underneath the consent agenda, we have items A and B. We have the minutes underneath A and then personnel underneath B. Matt, do you want to explain the personnel?
Yep, we have 2 leave of absence requests. Both of them have fulfilled everything that they need to get their leave of absence in. We're working on a plan for coverage. One of them is already covered and we're moving forward with it. And the other one's coming up and so we're working on a plan. So I would recommend both leave of absences are approved.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion.
So I got a motion from Heidi.
Second.
Second from Randy. Any other further discussions? Hear none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and carried. Number 7, communications items. Superintendent. Matt?
I've got 3 items for you. So the first one is obviously back to school, and it's no matter how you try to get ready for the school year or whatever you try to do, as soon as you put teenagers back into a confined space, you know, it's just amazing some of the stuff that comes up and stuff. So it's been an absolute excellent start. I couldn't be happier with how things are going. I think it's just nice to have students back, and I think it just really brings everybody back to remember what it is we're here and what we're about. You know, you have that summer break, and there's a lot of building things that need to get done. There's a lot of other stuff that takes place. But the minute those kids walk back in the door, it just kind of brings everybody back to reality about this is what we're in the business of. So the start of school has been absolutely fabulous. I did go over to the elementary school a little bit and got to witness the elementary school super program. I'm not quite saying it right. If you're on Twitter at all, please watch the clips. Batman and Robin were fabulous. But it was, you want to talk about an excitement level, you definitely don't need the Jumbotron to say louder in the elementary building. It was just fabulous, and to see how those kids just get into what's going on and the support between teacher and student and teacher, it's nice to see. So that was refreshing as well. Maybe a little bit on the boring side, but the auditors were also here. They actually just finished up this last week. Friday, they took off. I checked in with a couple of them before they left, and audit went very well. I don't think the board should expect any surprises. I believe they're coming out in November. We were confirming that date with them. I believe they'll be out at a November meeting, but they were very happy. Obviously, with Joan and Amanda and Linda in that district office, the fine-tuned machine that you have, the auditors really appreciate it. And so I know it doesn't get said a lot, but those 3 employees definitely deserve a big thank you, because without them, all the stuff behind the scenes doesn't happen. So it's always nice when the auditors come out and when they are happy to be in your district every day, and when they're happy to say, thanks for having us, we'll be back in touch in November. It means there were no issues, and that's what we experienced. So the audit report should look good. And other than that, I'll just keep reminding, as far as leadership conference, just if board members, if your plans change, or if you know that you can't make the leadership conference in January, you just have to let me know. I am planning on having all board members attend. So that's what I have.
Okay.
Questions for me, Endel?
Any questions?
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Matt. Community Ed Director, Matt Deckhausen.
Good evening. Just passing out the summer rec report that we do for our summer rec and enrichment program. This is part that we send to the city and the township for our, kind of our joint venture each year. So we send them participation numbers. We kind of break down some of the registrations by city and township. So you can see this year we had over 1,029 participants, and on the inside you can see the breakdown of each area that we had participants. So that's something that I've been here 19 years now, and I think even a few years before that have been, always give us what we request, and we've kept the same amount that we've requested for quite a few of the last quite a few years. So it's a good program that we have with the city and the township. Makerspace update. Garrick and I have been meeting. We're coming up. We've got a proposal to bring to the admin team to get their feedback on how we're going to be equipping those. Then our next plan is after admin is to develop a building level advisory board with teaching staff and get feedback before we go to order the supplies for that. So you'll see more detail coming from that, but really exciting time right now. Preschool report, numbers are strong, getting in the swing of things over there. They're getting into routines and a little less crying each day, I think, so things are good there. Fitness center report, we moved to our school year hours, increased traffic now with the weather kind of changing and starting to pick up more members like we usually do at this time. And pause, we're already up to 78 now for the school year. So, yeah. Any questions for me?
No. Our participation for this year, is it up or down or from last year?
A little bit down.
A little bit down?
Yeah, we didn't offer our community ed fitness programs. It was contracted through that, help me one day.
St. John's. St. John's, yeah.
Whatever that.
New Day.
Their program.
Their program. So those numbers weren't included in we had our own program last year, but overall, really strong.
Okay.
Similar.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks,
you.
Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Buildings and Grounds Supervisor, Donnie Mayer.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Well, we got through our fire drills and lockdowns last few days. Everything went well. We've got the roofing project is 99% done. We've got to do a checklist tomorrow, a punch list. Evan will be out and we'll walk the roof and check it out. We did have a few issues on the auditorium. There's a problem with bridging from the parapet wall. The rubber roofing is actually shrinking and pulling away from the wall. So we're going to have a little more work done by Horizon Roofing. They're going to cut the seams and stuff all the way around. I forget how it was, 500-600 feet, and patch it all back to the wall again. Otherwise, we could get it is actually starting to rip in spots. We've had holes. We'd get a good wind and take it all off for us. But
Is that the original roof from the auditorium?
correct.
Back
Yep.
in, what's it?
2000.
2001, yeah.
Okay. It's not warranted still, is it?
No, of course, it's 50.
I think that was done in like 2015 or 2016.
Yeah.
Just last year.
Yeah. But who's watching, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Next project I got coming up is I was down to Boss Plumbing. We're going to do some lead testing water. And we'll be doing about 90 samples from both buildings. So
Okay.
other than that, the year's been going good. So
Good.
whole week.
A whole week. Calm before the storm, as they say.
Right. Before the heating season.
Yeah, well,
Any other questions?
no, good job on the buildings. They look pretty nice.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donnie.
All right. Community report. Anybody on the board have anything to report from any of their meetings that they might have attended?
We've got two that we need to talk about. The policy committee, I'll have go first, and then we have West Central Ed as well. So Cheryl, you want to take the policy committee?
Sure. We had a policy meeting yesterday. We reviewed 4 policies for the schedule that has been put out. We reviewed 102, Equal Education Opportunity Policy, 206, Public Participation in School Board Meetings, Complaints about Persons at School Board Meetings and Data Privacy, 214, out-of-state travel by school board members, and 103, policy for expressions of concerns, complaints, conflicts about District 741 employees. Those were in the schedule to be reviewed, and they'll be brought forward to the board in October for 2 readings before we approve.
A lot of revisions on the end?
No, not much more revisions. It was pretty straightforward, except for mandated revisions. It was pretty painless.
Good. Good. So sometimes they're not. Okay.
Okay, West Central Ed Board met last night in Paynesville, and we had the first reading of 14 different policies, and there was very few changes. And we were introduced to the new business manager, Lisa Rader, I think her name is.
Correct.
And it was a short meeting until we got a discussion for well over an hour on which I brought back for a couple years about combining the Beacon and the ALC. And there's a lot of good ideas about, well, either rental, buying, building, or leasing, and just hashed out amongst the superintendents and the board and administration, and came up with a lot of good ideas. And it's in progress, and it will happen. And I have some, I know you get bored with this, but I have some enrollment figures here. For the ALC, we have 30 total, and Paynesville has 4. And Melrose 18, Albany 5, Sauk Center 2, and other districts, 1 from Uppsala, 1. And for the Beacon program, we have 2 from Albany, 2 from Melrose, 2 from Paynesville, and 4 from Sauk Center, and for a total of 10 at the Beacon program. That's in Sauk Center. And then birth till 3. Let's see, we have 6 from Melrose, 3 from Paynesville, 14 from Sauk Center, 5 from Albany, for a total of 29. And if I left anything out, Matt, what?
No, I think the only other thing I took away from that meeting is that there does seem to be some consensus around the table. All 4 districts, I think, do have an interest in how can we figure out a solution to a space issue that would have all of the West Central Ed programs under the same roof. That is, I think, really the one piece that regardless of what district you're representing, that is the one piece that everyone shares. Yep. So I think that's really kind of the next step, and that's where the conversation's going to go. And like Lou said, now it's about looking at options and what is the most efficient way to solve this issue. So more conversation to come, and we are kind of up on a timeline because October of 19, Sauk Center needs some space right now that West Central Ed is using, and so October of 19 seems a long ways away, but when you're talking about leasing and property and all of that stuff, October of 19 is not very far away. So there's going to be work to be done, and it has to kind of hit a timeline.
We did schedule a special meeting, a work session for October 8th.
Okay.
Forgot about that.
Good. Because I was wondering if you are really putting a timeline, because if we would have to meet some of those deadlines, you're going to have several months before that deadline, before that happens. So,
Just to clarify for the public, why do we have a Beacon program and the ALC? What is the difference?
So they really serve 2 different populations. So the Beacon program will serve students that maybe have a higher level of needs. They will be all students that are receiving special education services. ALC, it stands for Alternative Learning Center. They really will program for a whole variety of kids. Some of them may receive special ed services. It's not a requirement of an ALC. It really is an option for just about anybody. Typically, it's students that haven't been successful in what is kind of considered a traditional school have moved to an ALC. So they are, I would say, quite different. And typically ALCs tend to serve mostly older school-age kids. The crux of that enrollment is really grades 9 through 12. The ALC in Melrose does have a middle school program too. There are not very many students in it right now, but so that's a very 10,000-foot view of what the differences are.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? All right. We'll move on to old business, district goals. Matt?
Yep, and not a lot has changed in the last time that we met. You are going to see some changes on this diagram when we get to the October meeting. I'm still in process of working on that whole CEO programming or CAPS. I'm still kind of working through the weeds on that to figure out what it looks like with partners. The middle of September, New London, Spicer, and BBE and Paynesville are getting together to do the youth apprenticeship or youth internship grant, and that will be geared specifically at the manufacturing industry. So we're right now kind of soliciting some business partners to join on with us and issue a letter of support with the hope of securing a $100,000 grant that the 3 districts can use to provide 16 and 17-year-olds some internship possibilities. So that's still in the works. But as we move forward and get into October here, you're going to see some changes on this, and you're going to see some new items come and probably some items start working across that grid to the reviewing and implementing side of the house. So not a lot as far as changes right now.
Thanks, Matt. New business, Town and Country Days to 2019 already? All right, Adam and Deb? Or just Adam?
We'll just let them.
We'll just let Adam.
You let him do it.
Put him in the hot seat.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, basically, we're just looking to secure the board's help for 2019 for Town and Country Days, kind of having everything fairly similar to what was happening last year. I think it was a very good success and well liked by many, many people. So we'd like to continue that and move in that general direction.
Have we seen big growth from the years, like last year was downtown, or the year before was downtown to where it was here? Was there more activity? Was there more funds that you guys were able to raise for the different entities?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we saw, I mean, the numbers are skewed because of the fact that there's an extra day in there.
Okay.
But there was growth, a lot of growth in pre-sales. Pre-sale tickets for Carnival was, 500? 1,500, which
Okay.
was very awesome. So people were, I think, liking the fact that it was more towards the weekend, and we were able to, I think, secure some of the lake people coming into as well, and people from outside, not just internal in town, bringing new people to the area.
And with the band, we were up 100 attendees, with the band being with the carnival at the same time. I feel that if we wouldn't have had that nice, sweet storm that rolled in, that baby, we would have had more time because they were very disappointed at the pageant that they couldn't leave the pageant and go eat supper.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were talking that we were already taken down, and they were kind of disappointed when they didn't get to go to the rides. Actually, visiting royalty and stuff like that, we were excited to go on those rides as well. So hopefully this year, weather cooperates a little bit better, but overall, I think it was a big success. There is a talk of possibly making the street dance on Saturday versus Friday night, to hopes to increase people coming to and attendees to. But that's kind of in the initial stages right now.
Okay.
The carnival itself, the question was, one of the questions that came up is it didn't seem like they had as many rides. There were some issues with that. Did that get resolved, or?
I don't think there was any less rides.
There weren't as many kiddie rides, I know that.
That
for
is
sure.
a fact. And I did talk with him about that briefly, and it's because of the fact that the 2 or 3 motorcycles and the boats and the most common ones that you see downtown, they were all in the shop for repair and repaint. So they were basically getting their maintenance done, and unfortunately they didn't have those. It was in their attendance, or that is one thing that they noticed, and they had suggestions from the company standpoint. They receive that from our crowd as well. So they definitely are aware of that situation, and will make sure that it's rectified.
And we reminded them when we booked them for this next year, we reminded them of that. And John Senior said, "Oh, I will not forget that." So,
Well, when you got families, you got real little kids, that's all they have is those rides. And if they do 3 rides and they're done, or whatever they had, it's kind of,
I think this year they'll have a better idea of what they can fit.
Okay.
You know, this was kind of a trial year for everybody, not just the committee itself, but them as well.
the only thing, the feedback was just phenomenal. Absolute, people would go out of their way to come to the credit union, come in and talk to me and give feedback. And the only thing that, 2 things that they'd like to see is a lost and found. Cha-ching, got that on our radar, it will be there. And the other thing was carnival music.
Yeah, it was pretty quiet.
And it was very quiet, but it was off to the back. But they wanted that feel for the kids for carnival music. So when the chamber board met and we came up with what people talked about and how it was said, I think it was a mighty successful event. If those were the only 2 things that heard. I know that the school board was, we talked about the no smoking. We had signs posted everywhere. We went and told people. If we saw them, we called it. And so when Adam and I went and did a lot of walking of that field because we were worried about Max, and when he was going to come back and get us for
Several.
yes, many hours. There were very few cigarette butts.
Yeah, I was
And
surprised.
yeah. So that was a positive thing too.
2 big issues beforehand that I heard about. People were concerned about parking, they were concerned about safety in the roads. I was only here one day, I did not notice any problems with parking. It seemed like there was more than enough. And I don't know if there were any problems with the road.
No, we shut down that one intersection off of Veterans.
Right.
Seemed to work really well. Diverted traffic a little bit towards Subway and over towards Teals. Worked really good. Didn't have any bad comments about that other than they just needed to know that it was going to be that way. I think once it's established, it'll work a lot easier. People do. But parking, once they gave it a chance, they realized that it's a no-brainer. You go and get a Lions burger, you can park right next to a Lions stand. It's real easy, So it made a big impact. I think a lot of people realize that there's not much of an issue with parking.
Well, whenever you change something and it's new, people in advance are concerned and they're...
Absolutely.
But now that you've done it once...
In our debriefing, we also made comment that now that we know what it feels like and looks like, we can actually put maps out there showing you what is going to be closed off. And so to even get that out even further for people.
One of the issues we spoke about was possible damage to the fields. I haven't heard a thing. Was there any complaint whatsoever?
There wasn't any complaint. It's just the fact that we as a board knew that we needed to make sure there was a couple ruts that was evident of the 4 inches of rain we got the day before they went on it. But we had a couple rollers come out and basically sandwich them out a little bit. We put a couple spots of dirt in here to fill in some holes, but basically made it to the point where we knew that we were comfortable having football practice out there and having no issues with it. So it turned out really well.
Adam found
I
the
called and
lost
asked
shoe.
about that.
Yeah, I did find the lost shoe.
Yep, and that was the lost and found lady that said that we had a fire truck go out with a full load of water and drive on there also and then dump. But it was so cool to watch that. It was just amazing the gallons that were poured on there, and the city were watering. We talked to Max several times, and
I think everything turned out really well.
I personally thought it was excellent. I was involved at Time and Country Days for years, all the years I was downtown, and I thought it was the best that I had seen. I like the idea of the school working with the rest of the community and all of us working together. We're all in the same deal.
I agree.
And I just thought it was really good. I did call Max myself, and that was what he said. You guys had to haul some dirt in, I guess, in places that you found, but I just thought it was a nice event. And I'm not aware that there were any issues. I think everything was contained nicely at the ballpark. It was done very well. I make a motion that we approve for next year.
I'll second.
Okay. I got a motion from Bruce and a second from Rick. Any other further discussions? Any concerns on your part?
Not at all. The only thing is, if we could maybe get that football field damaged a little bit more, so we could so we could actually get it recrowned.
That's what Max was saying.
Well, and he might not be on the wrong path on that. I'm not going to agree with him on the turf, but to get it recrowned, I think might be in order. So, yeah.
It's seen its better days.
So if you want that in the motion, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
That wouldn't be a friendly motion.
Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much.
All
Thank
in
you.
favor,
I don't know what
signify by
I would do
aye.
without coming.
Aye.
Opposed, same
You can still
sign.
come.
And carried.
Sure you can.
Thank you very much. Good job.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so the motion was granted, so we'll move on to B, Dick Dillon donations.
Yep, enclosed, you will see an agreement in there. Mr. Dillon is intending to donate $50,000 annually to the school district for the purposes that are explicitly written in that agreement. The purpose or the intent right now is $50,000 annually until he is no longer with us. And then obviously there would be some other provisions and stuff. But the agreement is rather thorough. It deals directly with RBC. That's who Mr. Dillon works with. Dick has been very explicit in what he intends that $50,000 should be used for. Personally, I think that aligns nicely with what the district is moving, or what direction we're moving, and what our goals are going to look like. There was some question and concern about this agreement being signed, and I'll tell you, the only reason it was signed by myself and Mark was because Dick wanted to get us a check for $50,000. And so right now, I have a check for $50,000 sitting from Mr. Dillon at the district office. If this is approved, it goes in the bank. If it's not approved, it goes back to him. RBC Wealth Management would not release any funds without having a signed agreement in their possession. So it would be my recommendation to approve this. And personally, I thank Mr. Dillon for his generosity. It is simply remarkable.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
I got a motion from Bruce and a second from Cheryl. Any other further discussions?
I have one thing. So he's specific here as to where we should spend the money. Does that mean we give him a report, or somebody a report, or?
You know, I personally have been involved in about 3 conversations with Mr. Dillon. I have never got the impression that he would like a report.
Okay.
I think the one thing that I will take away, and you know, obviously he can always correct me if I'm wrong, but I get a very strong sense from him that he believes in Paynesville Public Schools. He believes in what we're doing, and he, with all his being, understands and has great faith in what's going on in this school district. And so I do not believe he's asking for a report. What will happen with this is part of what we want to use these funds for this year is the makerspace. So when we actually get what Matt was talking about together, and when you guys are looking at approving some bills to the tune of about $44,000, this is where that's coming from. And my intent is, once those maker spaces are up and running, are to take some photos and to send Mr. Dillon a thank you, so that he can see how kids are using those dollars.
That's kind of what I was thinking, just something to say thank you. It is
Yes.
a huge deal for the school,
Absolutely.
Well,
and
it
a
wouldn't,
huge deal for somebody supporting
it
us.
wouldn't hurt to put that in the paper too either, that this is what we got this money, and unless he wants it kept quiet. But I don't think he can, because it's going to be.
It's out there.
So I think something in the paper
Sure.
My other question, now, is there a committee that's been assigned to take care of this each year then, or?
No, the committee ultimately is the school board.
Okay, so.
I mean, you guys are under the understanding of what the intent of these dollars are. Obviously, I'm very hopeful that these dollars are here long after I'm not here, after you're not here, but it's very clear, and I think that's the one nice thing about this agreement, is it is neatly put together. It's neatly put together, and it also gives some freedom and room for new technologies to come in or some other circumstances, and the agreement acknowledges that. And the agreement is explicit as to what he doesn't want to spend money on,
Right.
which is okay.
But, I mean, we will approve it, but who out there, I mean, it could be different groups wanting the money each year, who's going to make the final, I mean, we'd make the final decision, but.
It explicitly
programming.
says in the agreement that the school district has the final say and discretion as to how those dollars are spent. So Paynesville Schools has the discretion to modify criteria with new technologies, the ability of the school district to adapt. Ultimately, it's going to rest with the school board. That's where it's going to rest.
And it's going to come from.
Administration. I mean, it's just like any other programming that we're
Okay.
going to be
Okay,
going
so
through.
administration will make the decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because they'll know that this money is available every year that they
Okay.
would get it, and then they would put a program together and say, meets his needs,
Okay.
and then they would come to us and say, would you support this here in their whatever?
Yeah, and I would encourage any one of you, if next year I'm bringing something to you that says we're going to use this money for this, and you don't feel it falls into one of those, call me on the table and say, hey, explain to me, how does this fit the criteria? Because yes, we have to honor the intent.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and carried. Thanks. Thanks to Dick. C,
Fee schedule.
fee schedule.
Sorry,
That's fine.
didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine.
All right, fee schedule, this is like a rite of passage in Minnesota school districts. We're supposed to set budgets, we're supposed to set fees, we're supposed to do all this stuff at an organizational meeting in July, but it just so happens that MDE doesn't get the adult meal prices out until early August. So sometimes we set prices and then we have to readjust them. If you look at the fee schedule, the one that was approved, the only thing that is changing here is the highlighted item with the adult fees. We had $370 is what an adult lunch was going to be. MDE provided us documentation that said it had to be $375 for this school year. So we don't have a choice. If you don't approve it, we still have to change our price because we can't charge $370.
Maybe in years to come, we'll just put whatever they say.
MDE set rate. We could absolutely do that. Then we don't have
Then
to.
we'd never
Then we
have
don't
to
have to
change.
come back and repeat ourselves. Yep.
There you go.
I move to approve.
Second.
I got a motion from Cheryl and a second from Lou. Any other further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and carried. D, secondary school facilities.
If I could indulge everybody for a bit, one thing I would like to do is I would like to take the board on a little bit of a walk around in the high school. The last week and even workshop and all of that has really been an eye-opener for me. It's one thing to look at a plan or a blueprint and make some guesses and observations. It's another thing to see a building when it's alive and actually really ticking. So I have some things that I would like to kind of walk through the building with you to talk about. And then I think this will also be kind of a prep session as to tomorrow I have a meeting with the architect and talking about a possible facility project. The next step after that is getting that facility committee back together to kind of review where we're at and talk about maybe some modifications. And so we'll kind of address some of those tonight as well. So there's about 4 places I want to take you throughout the building, and then I have some information I can share with you, and you may have questions, and we can just kind of dialogue about it. Does that work?
Perfect.
So when we have the meeting here, one time we did this where we had the computer stuff, and we went into a classroom, and we dragged the camera with us, just so people knew where the meeting was at? Do we need to worry about that, or?
No, the only thing I want is I want all 7 board members to stay together. We're still in session. We're not adjourned. This is a
And
meeting.
it's all okay that we leave the room?
And everybody who's in here, you're welcome to join us, and I encourage you to join us, so please come with. But the board meeting is still, you guys are still in an open meeting, and if there's someone at the volleyball game that wants to come join us, they're welcome to. They can come join us as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Bring your map, though.
Okay. Everybody made it back?
We're all back. Okay, so board, thank you for indulging me. I think it's just easier to visualize. I can give you a map, but if you can actually walk around and kind of get a feel for it yourself, I think it makes more sense. So obviously, if you have concerns or questions, you can certainly voice those now. I just want to talk briefly about what I see as where this goes. As I said, the architect is coming out tomorrow to meet with the admin team tomorrow morning. We have talked a lot of this through with him, and so he has some renderings that he wants to bring out and be able to bounce some ideas off. We really need to bring up the yellow square, what we're sitting in right now. That is something that I need him to tackle a little bit too. So that'll be an agenda item tomorrow for him. From there, I would like by the end of September to get that facility committee, the large committee, back together with the ideas that the architect has put on paper. I'd like to be able to have a conversation with people about the map that you're holding, kind of how we would see using the space, what it looks like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and then get input and feedback from that facility committee. I guess from the end of September, I see that facility committee actually getting together probably 3 or 4 times between the end of September and the end of November to really do some nitty-gritty work to get you a project that everybody feels comfortable with. Questions, concerns, thoughts?
Thank you very much. It's hard for us, and all of us have, I'm sure, are thinking the same thing. I, for one, it's hard for us to figure out what to do because we're not here. It needs to come more from the inside to tell us a little bit more about it. And thanks for taking us out of here, so you see what's going on. As a school board member, you never really know what's going on the outside. So the walk, I thought, was excellent. So I think this is really what we need to do. You're analyzing the space. People ask me all the time, listen, you got 600 kids less than there used to be. There's got to be some space in that school. Well, we're analyzing that finally. We're coordinating that whole CTE maybe in one area, which makes more sense. We already have 2 wood shops that are part of a hallway apart.
Yeah.
So good job. Just keep working on it, and let's see if we can come together. The community group will have all their input, but good job. Whoever's involved, which is obviously you and a bunch of administrators.
Yeah, and I think, Matt has played a huge role in this too, but whether you talk with Matt or Max and Garrick, and there's been a whole host of people, and David has been involved in it too. And the thing is, the refreshing part about it is, it is a culture that we don't always agree. But by not agreeing, I think we're actually getting a better product out of it. And so we will continue, and if there are any concerns or questions or anything, you can always get a hold of me, and just know that come the end of September, this whole facility thing is really going to get going, and we've got work to do. My intent, and I will say this to anyone who asks, my intent is to have the board that is sitting here today be the one to determine what goes to the voters in May. You guys have done a lot of work on this. This is something that was started, and the timeline really does require it. By December, we need to know. And so I know there are board members that aren't rerunning and that won't be on the board in January, but I do believe one of the last orders of your business will be to determine what it is that goes to the voters in May.
Good.
Okay? Anything else? Any other questions? All right.
Good
Lou?
job.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
We got a motion from Lou and a second from Heidi. Any other further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and carried.